And then forthcoming, Steve, who's in Oaxaca now, is taking on the political aspect of all of this and is doing interviews with lawmakers in Oaxaca about how governance can support in some way a payment for ecosystem services project in the future. So Gautam also asked me to address what was missing in the first year of BCEP and what's the use of an internship. So these are some of the things that I didn't learn in my first year at BCEP. The political, and these are photos from when I was in Oaxaca, and I'm not really going to get into that too much, but basically, I mean, this is kind of an extreme situation, I guess, that the local government was overthrown while we were there, and then the federal authorities had to come back in and reestablish order in Oaxaca. And, you know, in some ways, I actually do political work now, and you know, we don't have an uproar like this, but sometimes I kind of wish we did, you know, because, and I'm actually working on there's going to be a 25% fare hike right now in subway services in New York City, and you know, we take action in, you know, by writing emails and so on, but I think that, you know, a bill would be, you know, it would maybe have greater support in the state legislature if, you know, we could gather hundreds of thousands of people to walk around the town and express their anger about what's going on. The other thing that I learned while I was at INSO is an understanding and appreciation of local traditions and culture, and how, you know, it is absolutely imperative that any system, whether in Oaxaca or here in the United States, that the policies are sensitive to the area in which they're enacted. So, in conclusion, basically, this is, you know, the first year at BCEP gave me a very good foundation, you know, in the core areas, and then these last 4 things are basically what I learned through my internship, and I think that this, you know, concoction of core areas and also through my master's thesis and internship gave me a very good foundation for the work that I'm doing now, albeit quite different. That's it.
We have about here behind time, but 15. Thank you, Jennifer. She's been kind to me. So we have about 15 minutes for questions. Amy?
I just first want to say thank you. That was a really interesting panel. I totally enjoyed all 3 speakers. I actually have 2 questions. The first one is for Lindsey. Sorry, but I have to do it. We were actually in the same year together, and one of the things that was touched on yesterday a couple of times as a challenge for BCEP is the actual profile of students that would be a good fit for the program. And both yourself and myself came from an arts background and probably didn't know what a regression was when we started, and then you come out with this really interesting PES study. So I'm curious if you think your arts background was an asset or a challenge in doing your fieldwork and doing your thesis. Second is for the whole panel, and it's totally different, but it concerns PES as a whole in development. This was also touched on a bit by Gautam, how these things can be a bit contentious. And I'm thinking more specifically of RED, reduced emissions from deforestation and degradation. And also the cultural sensitivity that Lindsey spoke about. How do you incorporate it into a study or applying the results of a study when you have indigenous or other very vulnerable groups that find it difficult to place an economic valuation on their natural resources?
Okay, I guess I'm going first. I come from an arts background. My undergraduate was actually in music. So, you know, and I have to say, when I was applying, and so I studied that in undergraduate, and then after undergraduates at NYU, I actually got very involved in the community gardening movement in New York City. And I really decided that this is, and I did some internships at other advocacy organizations, and I basically decided that I wanted to pursue environmental studies in a more formal way. And so I actually came up to Bar to visit, and I instantly fell in love because I finally, I was received with such warmth by Joan at the time, and who really was able to, understand that solving environmental problems can't just come from a scientific perspective. You need to be able to communicate, you need to be able to engage people, and you need creativity to do that. And so I basically, she was excited about my background and thought that I guess I had potential, but could use some science and statistics and so on to back up my enthusiasm. And I think that that's what Bar did. And the great thing about having a small program is that maybe special needs students like myself are able to really get the attention that they need. And it was a challenging first year, but I think by the end of it, I have a decent understanding of the issues.
I'd say more than a decent understanding. Respond to